Hello, beloveds. Welcome. Oh, we are in store for some magic today as we sit with our dear sister, Deborah Stanley. Deb, welcome, dear one. Let me tell you a little bit about this amazing woman. Deb is a womb medicine woman and spirit keeper of the wild feminine, fondly known as the womb whisperer, having lived off grid through the seasons where she created a beautiful forest home, wild birthed her babies, and experienced an apprenticeship under the fierce guide of Mother Nature with over 20 years experience as a healer and holder of space, sacred space for women, and having navigated the wild initiations of Menopause. That's right. Debs shares the gift of quantum womb healing as she guides soul-centered women on the path of womb awakening. And you can read, of course, more about Deb and her offerings, the full bios here, but we just want to dive in together. So welcome, dear sister.
Thank you. So good to be here.
Well, the magic is just oozing off the screen. Okay. So, like, you and your earthy magic, you're just like oozing here to bless us. And it's the solstice as we're recording this. So, just like that to be in this together here. Can you tell us a little bit about this? So, living off grid through the seasons, like how did you get to be here, like who you are now? Just take us a little bit through the journey.
Saturn return, bit of an awakening from maiden to mother, a bit of a rude awakening. Became a Buddhist, found myself as a massage therapist. I'd been living in London, quite a hectic life, buzzing around on my motorbike, completely disconnected from spirit, really, and from my feminine. Fast forward, moved to Devon, kind of rewilded myself. Did loads of traveling, India, working abroad, setting up retreats in Argentina, Canada. Fell in love with, it was very much the Selkie tale. Fell in love with a man who lived inland. I was by the sea, but he lived off grid. I had a yurt. I took my yurt to move in with him and his wild wood. And yeah, we have two extraordinary children. And mothering in a wood was just quite an amazing initiation. No one could say, do this, when you reach those, what do I do? How do I handle this stage? I was literally chainsawing or chopping up wood, not chainsawing. Well, I was at one point. There's a picture of me with a chainsaw in my hand and the baby on the back, but mostly it was like chopping wood while breastfeeding. You were just doing, but living off grid, living with the seasons, I realized I'd been very divorced from the yin, the dark, the rest, the winter. Always spent my winters abroad. I was born in South Africa. Maybe I was just craving some sun, but living off grid and so close, we were living in a yurt, such as the canvas between us and the elements. I really dropped into the micro moments as the wheel turned. And we would celebrate and have big solstice parties and gatherings. We had a big community there. We built a goddess temple, a straw bale goddess temple, ran retreats and yummy things. Anyway, fast forward. During that time, I was apprenticing for about 5 years with Sarah Nanazra, who wrote the book Womb Awakening, Sarah Nanazra Bertrand. And she was a friend. She used to come to my retreats and started coming to the woods. Then she came to the woods with Azra, so we were friends. And then she started doing this thing. She said, Debs, hop on board. So I would do all the sacred crafting videos and kind of have the earthy pulse of the off-gridder, living through the seasons. But I was pretty maxed out and still very much in my mothering years, really unable to receive support and just to drop in, really, to rest. I was on a bit of a, now I understand it, a kind of a bit of a PTSD motor of like, just keep going, don't stop, avoidance. And I was also living with, this quite toxic man, this partner who I had hoped that he'd be this, and I was hoping to fix him and heal him and do all that stuff, and then really giving my power away. So fast forward, left the toxic relationship, moved back home to Devon, and really sort of spat out the other end of menopause. and really sort of had to rebirth myself. I left with nothing. So it was kind of really rebirthing all parts of myself and just doing huge deep dive inner healing, but really kind of taking a long time to rebirth my gifts during the whole debacle of us splitting up. There was a court thing. The whole womb awakening book was in the courtroom where the last 3 witches were tried and hung. It was quite a drama trauma vortex that kind of encircled me for a few years back then. And it was like my magic, women's magic, was on trial. And it was very difficult to kind of get back into work after that. And then lockdown, and then realizing, I need to really bring my work online and have a global audience. And I feel like Gaia just kept picking me up and sort of going, you need to be here. I'm a real guardian of land, and I would be on the moor. I'd be here. I'd be there with the kids, lots of movement, and really sort of rooting down into the earth. But all the time, my cauldron kind of getting quite rich with what was my signature soul note that I wanted to birth as a post-menopause woman into the world. So it really kind of became womb awakening, but as a 25 years as a master healer, it was about a transmission of laser healing for women to be able to journey shamanically into their wombs, taking the kind of the India crystal Reiki codes and the shamanic, Argentina codes, and sort of living that apprenticeship with the seasons in the woods, as a mother, and mothering through that. And so creating some beautiful programs, including a year-long sort of flagship apprenticeship womb awakening program, to put the map of woman onto the wheel of the year, and to really use the Celtic festivals as activations so that women could, around the time of Imbolc, look at their own rebirth codes and look at their own birth story. Around the time of Ostara, look at their maiden, their menarche. Around the time of Beltane, look at Aphrodite, their own sexuality. Around the time of Litha, look at sacred union. And then into Queen with abundance, leadership, and then Crone, that homecoming, that sacred vocation around, clearing all the witch wound stuff around Samhain. So really using the map of the year and Gaia's menstrual cycle, and then allowing women to really, really bring online their own earthy magic, but using that template, using those cycles to embody them, not just knowledge, little ritual that you do, but actually, or some myth around it, but actually to really live it. And for people, especially I think because it's the Celtic wheel, those who do have that lineage, to really kind of connect with their bone people, with their ancestors, and feel that sense of like, okay, this is who I am. So yeah.
So here we are. Oh my goodness. So say a little bit more about like the shamanic womb healing and what's available, in terms of the evolution of consciousness for a woman who is, kind of like, as you were saying, you said like the sort of like PTSD of like, just keep going. But let's just say, someone who's moving fast through the world, and they have a lot to show up for and lots of responsibilities, and people look to them for lots of reasons and lots of things. And then here you are, here is Deb saying, and there's shamanic womb healing, and this offers you what, so that you can continue to evolve and be of, the highest version of yourself, sort of like.
Yes. Yeah. So I call it quantum womb healing, because for me, the sort of shamanic element of it can be quite kind of, when you work shamanically, it can kind of just bring you down into the sediment a bit as you stir it all up, and people can get a bit stuck there. Whereas the sort of quite high frequency element of quantum womb healing is very laser. So we journey down into womb. We connect with the womb of Gaia, with the womb of the cosmos, and we journey you through the 9 sacred portals of the womb. Inside your womb, you have a portal for maiden, mother, queen, crone. You have a medicine wheel of earth, fire, air, water around your womb, the base, the top, the ovaries, and then the center. And then we kind of journey through that portal into your womb garden. And really, we're treating womb as like a deity, as an oracle. And when you can be journeyed into womb and receive the transmission of that, because most of us are very and have received a kind of conditioning and a heritage of disconnection from our power, from menarche was that celebrated, your first period, fertility, birth, all of it is become hospitalized and demonized, all of it, our sexuality. So really to kind of reclaim that. But when you journey on a shamanic quantum womb healing journey, you're treating womb as a deity and as an oracle. So she holds this library and this ability to sort of work with you to access her wisdom, her voice, to your direct sort of lineage of your red threads of her story. What was your mother's experience of menarche, birth, fertility, sexuality? What was her story? What were your aunt, your grandmother, all of that? So mostly what is expressing through women is this kind of lineage piece, and it's not that personal. It might feel personal at the time, but mostly we're just dealing with a barrage of sediment in the womb template that just needs to be cleared. And so when you look at womb as like a library, as her own Akashic records that you can access and experience the voice of, and receive the templates and receive the coding, womb is not a place of fear and shame, as we're so kind of like indoctrinated to believe and shut down from. She's really, really there as a pristine jewel of light. And so for me, we're all birthed from a womb. This planet, this cosmos, this universe is birthed from a womb template. And no one got on this planet without a womb. So if we can clear one womb at a time, one woman at a time, and bring her home to herself and allow her to have this exquisite relationship with her divine, feminine power and wisdom through womb, and she can honor her cycles and honor her transitions and really sort of feel her power as a woman, instead of what we've, been kind of passed on, this suppression of the feminine. I truly believe that the awakening of the planet will be speeded up, but anchored in a very nourishing and rooted way, an earthy way, because ultimately, the more you can clear your womb templates, your womb threads, you start to radiate. You birth life from your womb. You also birth paradigms, ideas, create creative ideas. So you start to just radiate with a beautiful light. And then that light is anchored through the earth grids, through the dragon lines of Gaia into the earth. It's a symbiotic relationship. As we ascend, she gets the right terrain to be able to shift, and as she shifts, we shift. So it's really about this womb consciousness and the evolution of that. Yeah,
beautiful. Well, I love what you said. It was like just describing her as this pristine jewel of light. I think like that's what you said. Light, which is like the potential, like of like what is really there once like all of the clearing and coming into the core essence. And who doesn't want that? I feel like who doesn't want that? And I remember, it's so funny, as you were saying, nobody got here without a womb. I remember so distinctly when I was pregnant with my first, I would walk, I traveled a lot. We traveled a lot. I was still leading, I think I was still leading groups like to all the vortexes around the world and all these crazy things that I stopped when I had my second. It's a little crazy. But I remember like walking through the airports, and getting on like the trains and the big airports, and I was just always like, every single person here got here through a woman. Like every single one. Like, and it was just like airports are, because there's so many people. And here I am, like, waddling through the airport, just being like, oh my God, what, how blind can we be,
Yeah.
The most, just so profound and in my face in that moment, the disconnection, from just a reverence of that aspect of life and mother and woman and womb. And it was like,
And it is, it is a programming, isn't it? It's like, the systems that keep the oppression and the control and the power. They don't want women in their power. They don't want us honoring our cyclical nature of the menstrual cycle, of the lunar phases, of the seasons of the year. They want us switched on, doing, productive, divorced from that power, so that we're just in survival mode and we're pushing through and we're just unable to really feel our somatic, whispers and our womb, our womb longings. To keep everything, status quo. But I really feel that we are the code breakers. We're the rebel wombs will, evolve the planet.
Saying, and I think for myself, what I've been tracking, like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I gave this TEDx talk, and I was speaking about sort of like the patriarchy, and but I think for me anyway, it's evolved to a point where I don't feel that I can personally say they anymore. It really is a we. It's like to really own, like for me, it's like to own my complicity, in the place feminine, where I don't trust my own cyclical nature, where I have continued to abandon. And this is the thing that I feel like is just so important, because I think if we keep saying they, then we don't get to fully own that to the extent that we've been complicit. There's and I'm talking about like now, right? There's like the deep ache and grief of the mistrust of the feminine that like began the eradication of the face of the goddess from everything. There's that. There's the level of the freedom that we do actually have now. And yet so many of us stay complicit in pretending that we don't. And
but I think largely, I think it's unconscious. And I think there's a gaslighting, which, having experienced that in a very kind of, intense way through a 12-year relationship, there's a sort of, there are these initiation points that happen where this sort of the Stockholm syndrome, that, the veil drops and you're like, whoa. And for me, it was having birthed my children. I had this like, whoa, and living through the seasons. This is my relationship to my monthly, moon time was like just another day. I didn't give it a second thought. I just got on. I didn't change my rhythms or orientate around it or treat it as sacred or anything like that. But really, menopause, I think, was the biggest one, to really sort of pull me up by the short and curlies and sort of rattle the cage until the rotten apples started to drop off, and to rebirth myself through that. And I think that these big initiations can happen for women, but wouldn't it be amazing if the women who are kind of, making amends can really initiate themselves, heal, and initiate their daughters, so that there's a new generation of conscious, women who don't have that gaslighting and that fog that they then have to sort of wake up from. I mean, of course, it's in the matrix of the schooling systems and the, most of what a regular child is going to experience. But I just think there's a ripple effect that can happen, and it's so powerful. It's so powerful. We underestimate the power of it. Just one person being in their womb power, and womb, switch that for whatever word it aligns.
Yeah, I hear you on the fog and the pull. And even just as you're saying that, I'm like, gosh, how does that work in like perimenopause? Like it was so easy when I could track my cycles, and now she comes whenever she wants. So it's, she's coming, nope, not coming. Like the other day I had like this full day, and after 2.5 months, like, ta-da. And like, well, I can't slow it down today. There is way too many moving pieces. I mean, it was just like, I think what I did is I let myself sleep in. I could feel like, oh, the alarm went off to like get up and do all my practices. And I was like, I think I'm going to sleep. I think when my body needs a, I went to sleep. I woke up late. I went to sleep early. That was like as much as I could give myself in terms of, like a real letting go into rest. But at the same time, like, we need to plan around that. So what is like a, high functioning woman who's leading in the world, like, do that? How do you do that? I'm genuinely like, wanting it to know.
Really hard, really hard. And I think, I was the same, I have tiny children and my body was going, you're not doing this anymore. And, I think it is a big issue. And I don't know that I do have the answers, because things had to get pretty messy for me to really, really kind of just listen and realize that enough. My body was saying, no, I'm not available for that. And my queen sort of archetype, my inner queen, really kind of came in to call me home to my power, my sovereignty, my authority. And in terms of the cycle, she's your inner autumn, your pre-menstruation, and she does come away from the madding crowd. She wants more solo creativity. She's got a truth inside her and a sovereignty and she's not going to BS you. But ultimately it's an evolution. You can't sort of like embody that when you're in your 20s, and you can get a whisper of it at that stage of your cycle. But I think it's just each woman has to reconcile that and find her own way. And it is that you have to let go of all the anchors, all the maps, the map of your menstrual cycle, the compass of that, and truly kind of be on that dark night of the soul, the selkie who loses her skin and realizes she's not herself anymore. And she can't go back because she's different, so it's about rebirthing yourself. It's a huge piece.
It's a huge piece. And so much compassion for, I think if you are moving in the modern world, and if you have people, counting on you, and you are in leadership roles, just how much that takes, to keep prioritizing and finding any way to keep turning inward, like just.
And in a way we have to model it, don't we? Because I don't know about you, Anahita, but my mother, I never knew whether she was experiencing her period or not, because every day was the same, and she just kind of would carry on. Self-care was seen as weakness and laziness, to kind of sit in a hammock and put your feet up was like, no way. You've got to achieve, you've got to push forward, you've got to just feel the pain and pull your big girl's pants up and get on with it. And actually, look what a mess the world is with that kind of thing. So the more I think we can self-initiate and heal, do that healing piece and turn in and honor the cyclical nature of ourselves and just be that, so that by process of osmosis, we're nourished, we're serving from a full cup, a full chalice, and our community starts to get nourished, and our children sort of like see us resting, and we're modeling that. I can't look back and go, there was a modeling that I just chose to ignore. There was no modeling. So I think we have to really kind of, look at that. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I'm so grateful. We were talking about, we were gushing, I was sharing with you about my partner, my husband, and I'm so grateful, like with the supportive men, like I just got to have like a week away in Kauai, alone, like this was like the beginning of like weaning my 2-year-old, and gosh, like, I just was praying, like I was so prayerful on the whole journey, but a part of that prayer was really actually for like all mothers, that whether they have a partner like the kind that I have, or whether they have sisters or grandmothers or a tribe or a community, some people that can just step in and hold the children, so the mothers can just have, whether it's 24 hours, 48 hours, 3 days a week, whatever, where they just get to go and be in the quiet. And because I was so prayerful about everything and just so much gratitude, but there was this also thread of prayerfulness for the mamas, and like, oh, I really want like every mother to just have this, even if it's 24 hours of like
amazing. Yeah. And you making that choice and doing that is such a powerful, it's such a powerful act in itself. There's actually some beautiful movements that weren't around when I was in the throes of it. Mine are teens now, but there's it's called the Mama Village. There's one in Avalon. There's a few around, and they get lottery money, and then the mamas, they give them free cranio and meal trains when they just had their babies, and postpartum care and pregnancy massage. There's much more of a support for this, and it's like there is a movement of beautiful things going on, but it takes a lot, doesn't it, when you're kind of being pulled to be in your leadership and managing the cereal all over the floor and all the things, and you're juggling all these hats, and it's like, and losing yourself, because that is really what the hormones and the whole stage of mothering does, is kind of everyone else's needs take priority. And so that's where the queen starts to work with you to like, no, sister, come home to yourself, because you're not going to be any use to anyone if you keep going like that. You're going to burn out, you're going to be exhausted, and you need to really feel your authority, your sovereignty.
As you're just like the movement to really support it. Existed on Maui where I lived, and I was there during the Maui fires, and it was amazing to see the mamas. It was just incredible to see what happened with the mamas, like wow. Where there's such significant devastation, and where it was like we were all literally like, moms would be like, I'm not going to be home from this time to this time. I'm going to leave my door open. This is my address. If you and your children need a place to go take a shower, there's a stack of plain towels, just people, and like hubs of just like for diapers and formula and baby food and like sound healing and massage. And it was just all for like the moms. It was the mom. I'm just getting so emotional just even remembering.
I've got shivers as you're speaking. Wow.
Oof, like, yeah. Oh my goodness. I can't even, I'm so overcome. Yeah. I was sending a message to an old client this morning. She has 2 little children, and I see her posts, and a lot of the times it's, I can tell she's deep in it, and she's tired, and, and it's more, she's also in the shift of identity and all of these things. And she's a powerful, leadership coach, and she's got 2 little babies. And so sending her a message saying like, I see you, I love you, like, hey, anyway.
Wow.
But I know that, we had talked about you bringing in just some drum medicine for us and actually taking us on a journey, so that we're not just talking about it, but actually giving an experience.
Let's do it. How long have I got, Anahita? And
You've got 15 minutes, my love.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, let's dive into womb. Just check that. Can you hear this? Okay. So just, if it's safe to do so, close your eyes. Place your hands over your womb and begin to breathe down your spine. Breathe down into the pelvic chalice of your womb space. Breathe into your sacrum and your dragon's tail. Breathe into your yoni lips. Breathe into your cervix. Breathe into the base of your womb, the celestial womb, your ovaries, fire and water. Breathe into the cosmic womb within you. And visualizing in the center of your womb a beautiful rose glowing in the velvet darkness. Breathe into this rose and see her petals radiant with cosmic light. Feel yourself sitting inside this rose. Here, sister, you are maiden goddess, mother lover goddess, queen goddess, crone goddess. You are home. This is your sacred Visualizing now from the base of this rose, a thornless scarlet beam of light extending down, down, all the way down, past your cervix and your yoni lips, through the floor and into the earth. And below the earth, with this beautiful beam of red light, connect to the roots of the standing ones that have meaning for you. Your maiden trees, your mother trees, your queen trees, your crone trees. Receive their protection, their witnessing, their strength. Journeying on down, spiraling down beyond the tree roots, all the way down, deeper and deeper, into the core of the earth, into Gaia's womb, and wrapping around her womb, receiving a beautiful transmission of belonging. Feel her claim you as a child of Gaia. Feel yourself rooted, earthed, held by Mama Gaia. And then drawing that medicine all the way back up in this red beam of light, all the way up, 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 spiraling up past the tree roots and back inside your womb. Receive it, feel it, breathe it in. And from the top of your womb, a beautiful celestial golden beam of light traveling up your spine, out through your crown, beyond the ceiling, the roof, the earth's atmosphere, beyond the moon, the planets, the sun, the star, beyond the galaxy, beyond the universe, beyond the multiverse, through a beautiful band of golden light, beyond a rainbow membrane, and feel yourself now as a multidimensional being of light, merging with the source codes of infinity and a beautiful expanse of white light. Deeper and deeper you travel through the white light to the center of all creation, and now merging with the liquid black light of the cosmic womb of all creation. Remember who you are, Goddess. Remember why you came. Your soul codes, the same as the creator of all. Receive a transmission to ignite your magic, your beauty, your divine path. And drawing that medicine all the way back down, 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 from the cosmic womb, through time and space, all the way down, spiraling down, in through your crown and down your spine and back into your womb. Receive it, feel it, breathe it in, and feel yourself now holding that beautiful trinity between your womb, Gaia's womb, and the cosmic womb. And as you breathe into your womb, ask your womb, what do I need right now? Working with womb to reclaim your feminine power, to come home to yourself, to be the woman that Earth needs now. And then gently just breathing. Becoming aware of the cool air in your nostrils, the sounds inside the space beyond. Take a breath. Beautiful. And welcome back.
Oh my goodness. Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. It's like 15 minutes.
I don't know, I lost time, but it felt quite elastic time. It felt eternal and very laser.
It's so beautiful. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, that was so yummy. I feel so blessed to have received that on this solstice day.
Yeah, wow.
How it is, how it's shaken out when we're recording. And I know half the world is rushing around buying presents, and there's this other thread of people who are, entering into prayer and tuning into the sacred. So like we do always have a choice, and there is space for both. I think it's what I just keep, my commitment to live is there's space for all of it. We get space for the sacred. So that was really special.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. What do you want to say to our sisters here who are called to, walk the path of the sacred feminine, and in any sort of like profession or any arena, like that's something that's alive in their hearts, What would you offer them?
I would love to say to make peace with your womb, to make peace with your cycles, to make peace with your inner maiden, to find a women's circle, to offer your menstrual blood, your moon blood back to the earth, and to come into resonance with your cyclical nature is such a medicine that will just hold you and nourish you through life's crazy wheel. Yeah. Blessings.
Wow, thank you, sister, so much for being with us. And yes, that is powerful, potent wisdom. And I also just really want to speak to, if you heard Deb speaking this and a part of you said, I can't do it. I can't let go into the cyclical. There is no space for it. That is your sign that you need to even more. It's like that's a proverb that says, meditate 20 minutes every day. Unless you have no time, then meditate an hour a day. It's like that. If you're hearing it that you can't do it, then figure out a way to do it. Find a mentor, find a group, find a collective, so that you are.
It is that, and when the medicine of the menstrual cycle, the medicine of the lunar phases, that the dark moon, the bleeding, and the wintering, and the inner crone, that we all have a template. We all have that within us. We just ignore her, but she's sitting there quietly knitting by the fire with a beautiful broth and a shawl to kind of nourish us. And we're like, gotta do. But actually, when we do take time to drop in and we just let go the reins, the magic that happens, the sort of elastic time that, suddenly someone else does that thing that was going to take you half the day, or someone else drops in, when we can actually receive on that level and honor the inner crone, that stage of the darkness that we're so afraid of, you know, the yin, the resting. It's amazing when we can nourish ourselves from that cup, and then other people have the beautiful opportunity to, you know, weave the magic that we're kind of, you know, knitting the spell of, you know, to just support that and allow us, like you're going to Hawaii, you know, you called that in, you have to be the cause for that, but then you take that time and trust that, you know, the crazy hectic, you know, how am I gonna let go of that? It can be done. Yeah, we have to trust. We have to take the first step.
It's true, yeah. And to be transparent, like that was challenging for me, you know, until like the day it's like, okay, I'm going to move forward as if I'm going, but the kids had been sick, and then I got sick, and then I had a sinus infection, and you know, it was just like everything. It was just like, am I going? I'm not going. It got postponed already once by like 4 days. It kept getting pushed back, and so it wasn't like it wasn't just like, oh yeah, no problem, you know, I'm going to go. It took a real part of myself that was advocating for myself and what I have been talking and preaching and walking for so many years. That's like no, the cup is empty. Like
Yeah.
I have to go. And I talked to one sister, I was messaging with her, and she has a 2.5-year-old, and you know, and has been deep in the work for many years also. And she just said, I think you should go. And it was like, it was just, you know, like that's all it took was that's because my husband kept saying, no, you should go. But I could tell he was also a little scared that like the kids are coming off of being sick. Like, you know, even though he's the one who was like insisted on booking it. But then when she said that, and I'm saying that because I feel like we all just need to have those people in our corner. So if you don't have that, that says you should go, or I'll watch your kids so you can go. You know, again, my best friend's been amazing at that. She now has a baby, but before that, she would come and just say, I'll watch your son so you guys can take to like a baby moon with, you know, while you're pregnant with your second, or I'll do this so you can take a minute. So
Wow.
like if you don't have those people in your life, then you need to put yourself in spaces where they exist, where you can find them.
We do. And we also though have to be, you know, in receiving ourselves, because if you don't have that, you're just not going to be a frequency match to receive it, even if someone's going, I'll help, you know. So we have to work on our ability to just actually let go of the control and let someone else allow ourselves to receive that level of support, you know. And for some people that's the most difficult thing, to let go and to receive. Yeah.
Thank you, my love. Thank you so much for blessing
Pleasure.
your beauty and wisdom. And I know
Beautiful.
even after all of this, you have a free gift for us. So can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, so it's a journey, a little bit like the journey I've just done, but you'll actually be visiting the 9 sacred portals of the womb. So it's a transmission, it's a healing transmission. So you can listen to it as a little meditation. It's about 20 minutes long, and just sort of what it does is it starts to wake up your womb templates to kind of, you know, okay, this is possible, and starts to just sort of, you know, break down the fear, shame patterns, the, you know, the stuff that's clogging up your expression of your radiance. So it's very powerful, it's very simple and beautiful, very sweet. So enjoy that as a gift from me. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. I think that's so generous. So grab it. I mean, just make time, sisters. Deb, we so appreciate you again for showing up and shining your beautiful light. So
Pleasure. It's been really gorgeous to connect with you. Thanks, Anahita. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
blessings, sisters. See you soon.